At AutoMasters LLC, our mission is to serve our community by providing quality automobiles at affordable prices. All of our vehicles are inspected and certified to offer you the confidence in knowing you have a quality vehicle. Our goal is to provide you with a seamless process and positive experience for your automobile purchase. Financing recommendations and specific vehicle inquiries are available at your request. You can find us at www.automasters06.com and follow us on Facebook and Instagram. Also, please feel free to contact Terrence Miles at 601-927-7794. And oh yeah, tell him Sonia sent you.
She say sports. She say sports. She say sports. She say sports. She say sports.
Hey y'all, it's your girl Sonia, and welcome back to She Say Sports. Please welcome back inside the HBCU SportsLab, SWAC Digital play-by-play voice, and Sideline Reporter, Charles Bishop. What's up, CB?
Hey, how you doing, Sonia? It's great to be back on here.
Thank you. You know, you usually do SWAC football play. You're never here in the spring, so this is an honor. It's going to be fun having you. Know I'm not a baseball girl, so this will be nice.
You know, I'm a jack of many trades: football, basketball, baseball, badminton, if need be. So, you know.
Right. So, Charles, before we get started into the SWAC baseball tourney, was this your first time announcing at the SWAC baseball tourney?
It was my first opportunity on doing some play-by-play work at the SWAC baseball tournament. Primarily, I've been using Sideline, but I've been doing some play-by-play work here for Texas Southern baseball, as well as doing some high school play-by-play with regards to baseball. So another great opportunity. I appreciate Andrew Roberts, SWAC Director of Media Communications, for giving me another opportunity. Very appreciative.
Absolutely. What's up, Drew? So because of your love for baseball, how was this opportunity for you?
Oh, it's tremendous.
Love for baseball and SWAC.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a huge baseball fan, and to be able to cover the tourney and really, you know, I've been following, you know, HBCU baseball all year, from the Cactus Jack that started out here in Houston. You had Jackson State, Texas Southern, Prairie View, and a few other teams participate in it. But just to cover the breadth of HBCU baseball, SWAC baseball in particular, from February through May, and to see the culmination in the SWAC championship game. Yeah, I think that was pretty huge. So I'm very appreciative to have put eyes on the majority of teams that played in this tournament.
Correct. And that was probably like 1,000 games. I know. Oh my gosh. So last week, as we mentioned, you were in Atlanta covering the SWAC baseball tourney, and apparently there was a lot of action. Charles, can you give us a recap of last week's winners and losers, and what was one of your favorite games or teams to watch this tourney?
Sure. You had the top 4 teams in the SWAC East, which were FAMU, Bethune-Cookman, Alabama State, and Jackson State, taking on the top 4 teams in the SWAC West. That included Texas Southern, Prairie View, Southern, and Grambling. So they got together last week at SWAC Baseball Tournament. Tremendous games being played, and I mean, it's hard to pick one. There were a lot of games with a lot of drama, but I think the last couple of games, definitely watching Grambling claw their way out of the losers bracket just to get to the SWAC championship game. I think that's a game that sticks out for me. That last game they had with Florida A&M, because Florida A&M, by all accounts, was the team that everybody was pretty much gunning for in the SWAC tournament. They were your 2023 SWAC baseball champions.
Okay, yeah. So that's interesting. You know, And like I said, I wasn't, I was paying attention, to some of the scores and the teams. And I saw Gremlin, had came back and I was like, okay, so that was interesting just to, check them out. So who was the winners and losers as far as, I mean, I know who made it to the championship and we'll get to that, but were there like some exciting games where it was just like they were tied and somebody, you know, got a
Um,
home run and won.
I think when you take a look at the breadth of the games, I think the one that really, there are a couple games that stand out, obviously, but just the fact Jackson State and Bethune-Cookman are teams so very similar, especially when you take a look at how they counter each other. Both of those teams
Okay.
really kind of mirror each other. But Bethune-Cookman has great pitching. They have really good pitching. Probably, I would think, probably the best arms coming into the tournament. And then Jackson State, they play a style or brand of baseball that makes it very difficult on teams if you're not defensively good. They play something we affectionately call it Omar ball, but it's small ball. It's just moving the runners over. It's basic fundamental baseball. But it's one of those deals where you get a runner on to lead off an inning, and you just move him over, bunt him to move him over. But it puts a lot of pressure on defenses and things of that nature. But it was a style made popular. Probably when you're talking about some of those Yankees teams in the 70s, Whitey Herzog had a team with the St. Louis Cardinals that had a lot of speed. And that was the thing that was significant with regards to Jackson State. They had a tremendous amount of speed. They could put a lot of pressure on defenses. And we saw that in this tournament. We saw actually a game where Jackson State came out slugging. They beat up on Texas Southern. But those games against Bethune-Cookman came down to a lot more strategy, and you had to have some really good pitching, and you had to play some real fundamental baseball. And if you're a fan of defense and a fan of just moving the runner over, which a lot of people are in baseball, that's the culture of baseball. When you see the fundamental things done right, those were a couple of games that I thought really stood out.
Okay, that's what's up. So, Charles, what was your vantage point from the dugout, and did you get any insight from some of the players while there?
Definitely insight from players in between games, but I think the unique thing that we were doing with SWAC Digital was we had sideline reporters, myself and Simone Stanley. We would rotate dugouts and things of that nature, but just to build up or to have that rapport with the coaches where, they could do their thing and we're down there, not bothering, but we had enough rapport where they would start, talking to us, and we'd go down and talk to them, roughly about the fourth inning or so. But it was a situation where, we would basically have an opportunity to to sort of talk to them during the game. And then even when the camera's not on, I think one of the great things is we had just great rapport with the coaches. When you talk about Jonathan Hernandez of Bethune-Cookman, Jamie Shute, Florida A&M, just really all the coaches really did a tremendous job, I think, of providing insight to the viewer, but really, and it's kind of conveying some of the strategic points that they were thinking aloud, that they felt comfortable enough to, kind of tell us as we were going along, always protective of state secrets, of course. You're not giving everybody everything, but just to have that rapport with the coaches where they felt comfortable enough to really tell you about the pitchers that were out there on the mound, who was up there batting, how they were trying to pitch those particular batters, what they might want to do with the defense, where they were looking at in terms of how they wanted to pitch a certain person, looking at the rest of the lineup. Those were things that I thought were key. And, I think that it was really helpful. We got a lot of great positive feedback with regard to the broadcast.
So, Charles, I saw some of the games, like I mentioned earlier, I was keeping up with it, but I was really impressed by the production of it all. Can you give us the information about that as far as, because I know this is, new to you working with SWAC Digital play-by-play, so I'm just wondering.
Yeah, they did a tremendous job when you talk about SWAC Digital. And I want to give kudos to James Crenshaw and his crew. James, with regards to the production of the SWAC Baseball Tournament, and all his cameramen and camerawomen, they did a tremendous job in terms of getting some angles that really took you inside the game. Especially baseball is a game of bang bang plays, and so you had a lot of great replays where we were able to get the answer before the umpires would come back and say, "Hey, he's out," or whatever the case might be. But definitely, James Kershaw did a tremendous job with regards to the production, and I think you're going to see more things from SWAC Digital with regards to they're producing games and things of that nature. So hopefully, part of it, and really looking forward to some of the things that they really want to do with regards to SWAC Digital.
That's what's up. Kudos to the Crenshaw and his crew. So we're going to move on to the big game. JSU, as you know, moved on to play Grambling Tigers in the championship game on this past Saturday. However, they fell short, losing 5-4 to Grambling Tigers. Tell us about this game and what put Grambling on top.
The tournament is one of those situations where it's really going to stress your bullpen. It's going to really stress the pitching that you have, and you have to have, an individual or two that really step up, especially when you are playing from the losers bracket, because essentially you got to win 2 to get back, into the championship thick of things, and that's what happened. And it was very, what jumped out with regards to Grambling is, they're trying to get to the championship game, and they had to go through Florida A&M twice. And I thought that was huge. And we always, during the course of broadcast, we were joking. There was a rain delay, I believe, that happened on Friday morning that pushed back the times. But it just so happened that, that Grambling was playing earlier that day against Alabama State. It was an elimination game. Mm-hmm. And we got a completely different Grambling team after that rain delay. They had a tough road. They had to go through an Alabama State program that is always in the thick of things. When you talk about Alabama State, they beat Alabama State 11-10. That was a huge win, I think, for Grambling to get beyond Alabama State. Then they had to play Florida A&M that night. And then for Grambling to beat Florida A&M to get them to a point to where they're going to have to play Florida A&M again to get to the championship game. So they went through Alabama State, they went through Florida A&M twice. And, when you take a look at their pitching depth, once you got to that final elimination game, they were pretty thin. And they somehow found a way to get themselves to the championship game. There are a couple of names that stand out to me. A kid by the name of Philip Bryant. He pitched tremendously against Florida A&M in that second game, and then he had to come back and do it again against Florida A&M, where he gave them just some quality innings. And it always happens that way when you start talking about the SWAC tournament, because as you go through the breadth of those games, you're going to stress that bullpen, and you're going to use arms that you probably weren't using during the course of the season as much. But it's all hands on deck, and that's what happened with regards to Grambling. They had a young man, Javier Martinez. He was able to come in and throw some quality innings, and it's one of the things that Coach Pierre talked about with Grambling. He just wanted his pitchers to compete in the strike zone. It sounds elementary enough, but they did a tremendous job of throwing quality strikes. And when I say quality strikes, you're just not giving people something that they can stroke across the middle of the plate. You're challenging the corners, you're moving the ball up and down. And those guys did a tremendous job of doing that in Phil Bryant and Javier Martinez. And they were able to just sort of buy innings for them, because this is a team, their offensive prowess was second to none. They had a young man by the name of Cameron Buford. Cameron Buford you talk about the history of Grambling baseball, he's their all-time home run king. And he stepped up big in this game, had a huge home run, 3-run home run against Florida A&M. And that was, the straw that broke the camel's back in the Florida A&M game. That enabled them to get to the championship game. So it's those games that really stand out with regards to how Grambling just got to the championship game.
So it's like they clawed their way to the championship. And when they won those games against FAMU and Alabama State, it lit a fire in them. This was Gramblin's first baseball tournament title since 2010, and they will be set to compete at Bryan College Station Regional. The Tigers will make its first NCAA Division I baseball tournament appearance in 14 years this week, and they have been tabbed as the number 4 seed in the Bryan College Station Regional and will face number 3 overall national seed Texas A&M from the SEC. What are your thoughts on this matchup? Hey, we have to still ask the question because you never know. It could be an upset.
No, we've actually seen times during the course of this season where SWAC teams, have gone in and gotten a win. Immediately what comes to mind, you had Bethune-Cookman beat Miami. What immediately comes to mind, you had Alabama State beat Auburn. You also had a huge game where Southern went in and beat LSU. So anything can happen. We've seen the Jackson State baseball, with the history of Jackson State baseball. Yeah. If you remember, you go back a few years ago, Jackson State, they knocked off the number 1 team in the country, which at the time was Louisiana Lafayette. So that's not to say it can't be done. It's a tall task when you're taking on the sort of quality of pitching that you're going to see going forward, especially in the regional. But, I don't take anything away from this Grambling State baseball team. They can hit with anybody. They can hit with anybody in the country. Their 1 through 6 hitters are tremendous in terms of how their plate discipline and how they go about getting on base. And then they're going to put pressure on you, because one of the things that you see within the SWAC is when guys get on base, they're running. And that's just something a lot of conferences around the nation don't do. You normally see a SWAC team that normally leads the nation in stolen bases. I believe this year there were 3 teams that were in the top 10 in terms of stolen bases. So from the SWAC. So that's one of the things that those bigger programs, those well-heeled programs, they're going to have to pay attention to, because once we get on base, we're going to give you some issues being on base. We're going to steal a few bases.
Okay. Well, I wish them well. I wish them well in SWAC love. And speaking of that, SWAC love, I want to give a shout out to our JSU sister, my soror, my chapter's president, Dion Jones Woody, her son, James Woody II. He actually is a freshman at Grambling, and he plays baseball for them and got his first ring in the first year. I think he's an outfieldman and a catcher, I think. And congratulations, James. And Dion is over the moon. She's so excited for him. So I wish them well. I pray that they do have a setup. Setup. What am I trying to say? Upset. You never know.
Sure. No, it's one of those situations where it's not beyond the realm of possibility. Anything can happen with regards to baseball. If you do a couple things right, 2 or 3 things right, you compete in the strike zone, you make plays defensively, you make the routine plays, and you're selective at the plate. Baseball is one of those sports where height, weight, you kind of throw those things out the window. Depth, you throw those things out the window. It's definitely a sport that lends itself to where you're a little bit more on even footing, if you will, with regards to playing the more well-funded programs.
Okay, awesome. Well, Charles, as usual, thank you so much for joining me today. As you know, we have a game, but you hadn't been on here for a while, so the game has been changed up, and it's called What You Know. So, it's baseball trivia, and they had no SWAC baseball trivia whatsoever, so I could have made some up, but I didn't feel like it. So we're going to do some baseball trivia, and you don't have to be perfect. I know you are a baseball guy, but hey, some of this stuff, it just doesn't come in your head sometimes. So let's go. Who is known as the father of baseball? I never knew they had a father.
Abner Doubleday?
Okay, whoever the heck that is, no. Henry Chadwick?
Yeah,
Does that sound familiar?
Not quite. Like, go for it.
I was like, who? I never knew they had a father of baseball. Where is the oldest professional baseball park located? The oldest.
I have to say Fenway Park in Boston.
Correct. Which player holds the record for most MVP awards? And he was during our time. I'll say the 90s, early 2000s. I guess he was in the early 2000s.
Let's go Barry Bonds.
That is correct. Who is the all-time leader in All-Star Game stolen bases?
Ooh, now that's a good one. All-time leader, All-Star Game stolen bases. Let's try for Ricky Henderson.
Who did you say?
Ricky Henderson.
Willie Mays.
Ah, that's a good one. I like
Willie
that
Mays.
one. Say hey kid, Willie Mays.
Yep. What team lost a record 113 games in 2003? 21 years ago.
21 years ago, 2003. Ugh.
Midwest.
Midwest team?
Mm-hmm.
Oh boy, that could be anybody. Let's just take a quick stab. Let's go with the Kansas City Royals.
Detroit Tigers.
Ah, Detroit Tigers. Okay.
In what year did the Chicago Cubs last win a World Series before 2016? You know, this was a huge deal when they won in 2016.
When did the Cubs win prior to that? 1900.
Come on, when was your? No, I ain't telling you.
Let's go 1906.
I knew you would say Alpha. I was going to say it's your sister's 08.
I was 1908. I knew it was one of the two.
In which city was the first baseball stadium? Yeah. In which city was the first baseball stadium?
In which city was the first baseball stadium built?
Mm-hmm. Union. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Let's go with New York.
Well, what city? It is the state of New York, but what city?
Let's go with Cooperstown.
Brooklyn.
Brooklyn. Okay.
Union Grounds. I've never heard of it.
Well, you know what? You're making me dig back into my old Quiz Bowl days.
I knew I would.
You whooping me to death today.
Which president was the last to throw the ceremonial first pitch of the baseball season? Who was the last?
It's got to be Barack.
Correct.
Yeah.
Last but not least, who was
President Barack Obama. Let me say it that way.
Exactly. Our POTUS. Who was the most famous black baseball player of all time?
That's so broad. The most famous.
No, it's not. No, it's not.
That's tremendously broad.
Well, you and tremendously.
I mean, because
let me tell you why. Let me tell you why. Because if it was not for him, there would not be any other black baseball players in the major league.
Okay, we'll go with Jackie Robinson. I mean, your first thought is Jackie Robinson, but then that's one of those subjective ones. Okay.
Correct, but he has movies after him. He has a day. I mean, it's pretty, we don't do that for the other ones. But I get what you're saying. I agree. Yeah,
because I could have been tilting towards Henry Aaron. I could have gone to Henry Aaron. So,
that's true. That is true.
We'll take it.
That was not my last one. What professional baseball player finished his career with 755 home runs, the highest total in Major League history?
Cameron Hank Aaron.
Yep. When you said him, I was like, I forgot I had one more. Awesome. I knew you would do pretty good on this. Charles, thank you so much for joining us today. Tell the listeners how they can follow you on social media, as well as check in with you on Inside HBCU SportsLab.
Yeah, you can catch me inside the HBCU SportsLab on Tuesdays. Cutting back a little bit. Got some other things in the works. But definitely, you can catch me on all social media platforms via Facebook or Twitter. or Instagram. I'm somewhere out there, Charles Bishop 1906.
So enthused. And guys, you can follow me on Facebook at She Say Sports, on Instagram at She Say Sports 23, and please subscribe to our YouTube page, She Say Sports. Well, that's my show for today. Until next time, this is Sonia with She Say Sports. Bye.